From stealing millions of dollars from widows and orphans to the lawyer who straight up dodged bullets, here are 10 times being a lawyer went horribly wrong. Number 10. Misappropriating millions. Have you guys seen The Housewife and The Hustler? If not, you should. Famous attorney Thomas Girardi has been formally charged with misappropriating his client's funds. Basically, he has been stealing from widows, orphans, and burn victims to pay for his lavish lifestyle, as well as that of his wife, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica Girardi, aka Erica Jane. It started out small. Thomas allegedly kept $56,000 from a settlement won by a couple in West Virginia against a medical device manufacturer. The manufacturer wired the money to the lawyer, but he kept the funds for himself and told his client that he was still waiting for the money. But what was he thinking? Did he think they would just forget? People don't forget about $56,000 they are owed. In yet another bizarre case, the lawyer kept 40% of $500,000 awarded to a widow from a settlement, apparently jacking up their agreed deal of 33%. In other words, he bamboozled her. The poor burn victims from a gas line pipe explosion that left them traumatized for life are still waiting for their money to pay for medical bills. This case is laid out in more detail in The Housewife and The Hustler. There was a lawsuit filed against Boeing after a plane crashed in Indonesia. Bog Tommy swore to champion the victim's cause and successfully sued the company. Money was awarded to the victims' widows and orphans, but Thomas made at least $2 million disappear that was meant to go to these families in a seriously dirtbag move. Who steals money from widows and orphans? Now there are some major lawsuits that he is facing, as well as his wife. He is allegedly diagnosed with Alzheimer's and is denying everything. Now lawyers representing the victims are going after his wife since she used to brag about her clothes and jewelry, and she spent $45,000 a month on her glam squad and pay for all those hair extensions and latex suits and promote her music career. She allegedly received $25 million into her business account, most likely the payment that was supposed to go to the victims. She has since filed for divorce. But the question is, how much was she actually involved? Big Tommy owes around $56 million to various clients and lenders, and the cases are still ongoing. We'll just have to wait and see. Number 9. Inappropriate Zoom meeting. During the pandemic, Zoom meetings became the norm in the lawyer world. But some lawyers didn't quite figure out how to properly behave during these meetings. In fact, some people displayed some pretty inappropriate behavior during their meetings. A Florida firm recently had to dismiss one of their partners on the council after she decided to get a little frisky during the meeting that they had with their client. It began pretty ordinary. The woman was sitting at her desk looking completely normal. Then from the right side of the frame, a man can be seen crawling on his hands and knees towards her, thinking that he can't be seen. However, it was pretty obvious. The woman moves over to give the guy room under the desk, and then he disappears. Nobody knows for sure what happened next, but judging by the faces the woman makes, we have a pretty good idea. Not PG, that's for sure, and not something you should be doing during work. After the meeting, the woman was swiftly fired. Her superiors watched the video and could tell exactly what she was doing, and so too could the clients, who were furious. We don't know if she got a new job, but hopefully at the next one, she'll keep strange men out from under her desk during business meetings. Or at the very least, maybe she'll learn how to operate Zoom and keep the camera pointed at a higher angle. Number 8. In the monkey enclosure. A lawyer got into a bit of trouble recently after she did something incredibly irrational and totally insane. The woman was caught on video at the El Paso Zoo breaking into the spider monkey enclosure to feed them hot Cheetos. I know, right? Why? It just doesn't make sense. Was she intoxicated? Or just thought she could do whatever she wanted? As a professional lawyer, this probably isn't the kind of thing you should be doing on your weekend. Visiting the zoo is perfectly fine, but maybe don't break into the monkey enclosure while spectators are filming. The woman was fortunate that she didn't get torn apart by the extremely strong primates, which according to the zookeeper could have easily brought her to the ground and done substantial damage. Even the director of the El Paso Zoo called the woman's actions stupid and said she was extremely lucky. There was never any motivation given for her wild break-in. It's not like the monkeys needed to be fed Cheetos. After the footage went viral, she was fired from her job at the law firm. Not only that, but she is also facing criminal charges, with the zoo very much wanting to press charges against her for endangering the animals and potentially giving the monkeys COVID. Number 7. The 9/11 scam. A lawyer was reduced to nothing but a common thief after he confessed to participating in a scam that involved ripping off a police officer for a cool $1 million. This officer was stricken by cancer, which he had gotten from being part of the rescue team at Ground Zero when the World Trade Center fell on 9/11. John Ferreira filed his compensation claim after getting cancer. His attorney and longtime friend, Gustavo Villa, was supposed to give him a massive payout. Instead, Villa pocketed most of it. He spent 90% of the funds he had stolen, including money that was supposed to go to the cancer-stricken hero's wife and son. In a shocking hearing at the White Plains Federal Court, the lawyer admitted to embezzling money from the government, taken from the Victim Compensation Fund. Out of all the funds to embezzle, this has got to be the worst. The only consolation here is that the lawyer knew he did something terrible. But still, it took him 4 years to admit his wrongdoings. He only gave the cop $100,000, then made up excuses from between 2016 and 2020 for where the rest of the money was. Where was all that money? It was spent on the lawyer's life. He now faces 10 years in prison despite pleading guilty. It seems like a fair punishment, if you ask me. What do you think? Should he have received jail time for this? How much is fair? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to World List if you haven't already. Number 6. Fighting the judge. A lawyer is supposed to fight for the client, but in Florida, things got a little too literal when a lawyer and a judge stepped outside of the courtroom and got into a brawl. Amazingly, the whole thing was captured on video. It began when Judge John Murphy got into an argument with the public defender, Andrew Weinstock. Andrew had simply asked that his defendant be allowed a speedy trial. The request devolved into an argument, and the judge was captured at one point, saying, "If you want to fight, let's go out back." Well, that's exactly what the two men did. They left the courtroom, and while out in the hall, the judge beat the snot out of the lawyer. Naturally, the judge denied hitting the lawyer. But it was all caught on video and pretty cut and dry. The judge was then labeled as unfit to remain in office and basically fired. The lawyer wasn't in any trouble, but maybe the next time a judge tries to take him outside, he'll know better than to walk into a trap and get beat up. I guess all those Florida man memes about crazy guys in Florida are true, you know? Even the judge is a Florida man. Number 5. The pimp. A Florida defense attorney has been arrested over some pretty terrifying accusations. What is it about lawyers in Florida that just don't mix? John Gillespie, 71 years old, was busted for a few different things, each of them more despicable than the last. First of all, the police say that John was involved in the human trafficking of minors. Additionally, John was accused of exchanging legal assistance for inappropriate favors with clients as young as 15. If that's not horrifying, I don't know what is. Additionally, John had been accused of running a prostitution ring for the comfort of his home. It's not clear exactly how many women he was involved with in his underground trafficking ring, but it was a probe by the Orlando Metropolitan Bureau of Investigation that finally caught onto John's debaucherously evil scheme. As if being a shady lawyer wasn't skeezy enough, the 71-year-old had to take things to a whole different level of scumbag. Number 4. The DUI. A lawyer in Las Vegas who specializes in DUIs has been arrested on charges for driving under the influence. It doesn't really get more ironic than that. It happened just recently, and according to Fox 5 Vegas News, it was his third offense. The DUI defense attorney actually crashed his car while wasted. He drove his Aston Martin, a very fancy car driven by James Bond in the 007 movies, into a Toyota SUV, causing both people in the Toyota to be taken to the hospital with minor injuries. A man named Garrett Ogata didn't even have a driver's license, as it had already been taken away following previous DUIs. But what happens when a DUI lawyer is charged with a DUI? Does he represent himself? In this case, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. Ogata clearly has a drinking problem, and this time, since he physically hurt two people and sent them to the hospital, you'd think he was probably going to lose his license for good and hopefully spend a bit of time behind bars where he can sober up. But no, apparently, he's still practicing law today. Number 3. Dodging bullets. Jerry Curry was 53 years old and practicing law when he pulled some moves straight out of the Matrix and dodged bullets in real time. Well, he didn't really dodge them. It's more like he managed to get shot in the best possible places. He got hit with 5 bullets in his right arm and a 6th that got lodged in the back of his neck, all while trying to avoid the bullets as he was blasted at point-blank range by a deranged lunatic. It all happened when a man named William Stryer walked up to Jerry, asked what his name was, and then pulled out a revolver and opened fire. It was revealed later that Stryer had won a settlement using Jerry's law firm, but the trust fund was withholding funds that Stryer desperately wanted. When things didn't go his way, he began calling the law office and threatening to kill people. Finally, he made good with his threat and tried to gun down the lawyer. Luckily, even after getting hit with 6 bullets, Jerry made a full recovery. He suffered slight muscle and nerve damage, but walked out of the hospital feeling, according to him, pretty good. As for Stryer, he was arrested and locked up, and he's definitely not getting any money now. Number 2. Snitches get stitches. A criminally inclined lawyer from Massachusetts made some pretty outlandish threats and killed another man. His name is Michael Mascaritolo, and he and his girlfriend were arrested in connection with the death of a man named Robert McKenna after his corpse was found rotting in his home. Here's how it all went down according to the court hearings. The lawyer tried to rob the victim with 2 of his friends. The 3 of them broke into Robert's home with the intention of stealing his gun collection, his African art, and the marijuana he was growing in his house. Obviously, Robert wasn't really interested in being robbed, and he tried to fight the men off. At some point, Robert was pushed through a glass window, which severed the artery in his arm. He was then beaten over the head with a frying pan until dead. After the death, Michael the lawyer tried to get rid of the stolen guns. He handed them over to a female acquaintance, saying she needed to hide them for him, then threatening her by saying, "Snitches get stitches." Obviously, the lawyer was watching a bit too much action TV. She snitched anyway, and Michael was quickly busted for the crime and given a life sentence with no possibility of parole. Number 1. Mob connections. An attorney from Long Island was recently busted running a scheme with the local mafia to steal money from winners of the lottery jackpot. According to federal prosecutors in Brooklyn, the lawyer managed to steal over $100 million in prize money. Jason Curlin siphoned money from jackpot winners and then convinced them to let him invest some of their winnings smartly so they wouldn't run out of money later. But instead of actually investing their money, he handed the cash over to members of the Genovese crime family for shady investments. The lawyer received kickbacks for giving the money to the mob, earning a total of $107 million between 2018 and now. In the end, a federal wiretap brought the investigation to a close. The mob members that the lawyer was associated with were busted on a federal wiretap, threatening to rip someone's head off in front of his kids. In another shocking wiretap, they were heard threatening to make a guy watch as they ripped the teeth out of his son's mouth, then do worse things to his wife. It was a pretty brutal scam with savage monsters, and all the victims ever wanted was to be handed over their lottery money. It really makes you wonder why you need a lawyer just to get paid for a game you already won fair and square, especially when these kinds of rackets are going on all the time. Thanks for watching. Have you ever had a run-in with a bad lawyer? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button and come back for more. See you next time.